What is up, people, and welcome back to my Rags to Riches F1 2010 to 2014 career mode. This is the career mode where we go from one of the worst teams in F1 2010, work our way through the ranks and through the teams, and try and get a drive for one of the best teams in F1 2014. We're currently in the F1 2014, so if you have missed any of the previous episodes or the whole entire series, then you can go catch up with the card annotation in the top right hand corner of your screens. You will find the previous episode at the Chinese Grand Prix there, and you will also find the whole entire playlist for you guys to enjoy. But after 4 rounds of F1 2014, it's not been a good season. It has not been a good season at all. We're down in 6th place at the moment, 24 points on board, and we need to do something in order to work our way up the field. So hopefully we can do that here at Spain, although Spain isn't really a track where I tend to do well at. But looking at the emails for today, it's going to be nice and dry across most of the weekend. Rain in the practice session, but we don't do practice, but dry during both the qualifying and the race, and we don't really need to look at these two because it's just sort of depressing at the end of the day. However, we have finally outraced Fernando Alonso, and we've also got a fastest lap against him. We just need to now start to out-qualify him for the rest of the season. But let's see where we can do that today as we head over to the Spanish Grand Prix. Here we go then, one shot qualifying for this Spanish Grand Prix. In all honesty, I haven't really got my hopes up for this qualifying session. We're just going to, get out on track and see how it goes. We run down in towards turn 1. Let's see what we can do in this qualifying session. Okay then, down in towards the final chicane now here at the Spanish Grand Prix. What sort of lap time is it going to be good enough for, though? In towards the left, then the right, down towards the final corner now, and then it will be across the line. Like I said, I haven't got my hopes up. I don't think we're anywhere near that 125.0. No, we're not, but what's the time good enough for P12? There we go. So finally improving on that 14th position that we seem to just keep on qualifying in every single session. However, this time around we've broken that duct. We're moving further up the field, and this time around we are up into P12. Still not good enough though. It's not good enough. We need to be further up the field. We need to be up there with Fernando Alonso. But at the moment, it's just not looking like it's going to happen. Lewis Hamilton is on pole for today's race. Once again, that's 5 out of 5 for Lewis Hamilton. He is phenomenal in the qualifying sessions, with Rosberg in 2nd, Ricciardo 3rd, Vettel 4th, Alonso 5th, Bottas in 6th, Massa 7th, Hülkenberg 8th, Perez in 9th, and Jenson Button round out the top 10 with Kevin Magnussen in 11th, and then it is myself in P12. And what can we do from that P12 on the grid? Let's find out. It's race day. It is, of course, the Spanish Grand Prix, starting in a slightly better position of P12 here today. Not good enough, though, if we want to be challenging for the Drivers' World Championship, but baby steps at the moment in the first couple of rounds. But we need to sort of, pick up some momentum and get further up the field. Looking at the race strategy for today, starting on the options, then pitting for the primes. We're going for this strategy because the other strategy, it worked, but it didn't really work the best, so I feel like this is the strategy to go for. Just stay on the options, then pit for the primes, and then just see how it goes. Pitting on lap 7 of this 17-lap race. Teammate challenge, it doesn't look good at the end of the day. 5-0 in the out-qualified for Fernando Alonso. We really need to pick up our game in not just qualifying, but in the races and everything else as well. So hopefully we can do something here today. 0% chance of rain, so let's head down to the track and get today's race underway. There is Lewis Hamilton with his 5th pole position of this season. He is amazing in qualifying. Absolutely amazing. Fernando Alonso lines up in 5th place for today's race. And there's myself lining up in P12. Better than P14, which currently is held by John Eric Verne. As we get to the lights coming on now, we go to 5 red lights. And it is lights out. And away we go for the Spanish Grand Prix. That is probably the weirdest start up to a race that I've ever done. But let's just get on with this race. Hopefully we can pick a gap down in towards turn 1 somewhere. There's a whole lot of cars right in front of me, so I'm not too sure where that gap's going to come from. Up the inside of Nico Hülkenberg maybe. Oh, getting caught so much on the curb there through turn 1. But getting up into P10 at the moment. A lot of guys backing off through turn 3. I'm going to go up the inside of Kevin Magnussen. Maybe try and see whether I can get past Felipe Massa as well. We've got Fernando Alonso going slow. Sergio Perez very, very sharp on the brakes there down in towards turn 4. But I get the job done on Fernando Alonso. And now I'm right up behind Daniel Ricciardo and Valtteri Bottas up the inside of both of these guys. Wow. Okay. What a start this has been for the Spanish Grand Prix. Straight away up into P4 for this race. And now seeing what we can do on Sebastian Vettel as we go through turn This left and then the right. I said turn. I didn't even know what turn number that was. So I just completely backed out of that. But at the moment, right behind Sebastian Vettel. And we're actually on the edge of maybe even getting our first podium of the season. Let's see whether we can actually do that or not. Okay, so we are right on the tail at the moment of Sebastian Vettel. Going down in towards turn 1. We don't really have the straight line speed. Both the Renault and the Ferrari engines are just so poor compared to the Mercedes. But here we go, down in towards turn 1. Braking at the 100-meter board, side by side with Sebastian Vettel. He sort of put me on the curb on the inside in towards turn 1. And then I get the outside into turn 2. And that seemed to have done the trick there, around the outside into turn 2. Moving on to the podium. And what a start we have had in this race. Looks like maybe my fortunes are starting to change at the moment in this season, as we're now trying to close up to the 2 Mercedes drivers. So, however, I feel like that's probably not going to happen in today's race, but we'll wait and see. You know, miracles have happened. You know, stranger things have happened in this Rags to Riches series, and maybe we can get Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, at the moment, we are actually keeping in touch with both of the Mercedes drivers. 2 seconds at the moment is the gap to Nico Rosberg, who's actually looking maybe to have an overtake on Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 1. Unfortunately for him, wasn't able to go for it just yet through there. But if those guys could battle it out, that could actually give me an absolutely fantastic chance of maybe battling with them for the lead. I think the 2-second gap has increased at the moment, maybe to, 2.6 seconds at the moment. But we're doing a good job at the moment, still holding on to P3. And let's just see how the rest of this race goes on. Okay, then it's time for the pit stops here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Not the best of entries into this final chicane, but getting in towards the chicane. Now putting it down in towards Lee Mix, coming into the pits. And should be a fairly simple stop. Looks like Sebastian Vettel not deciding to come into the pits. That's good news for me. If I'm the only driver, which I am actually the only driver coming into the pits, then that means that I'm not going to get held up by anybody in the pit lane. So I'm rather happy about that. The other guys should be coming into the pits on the next couple of laps. We've got Massa into the pits behind us. I'm not too sure who else that is into the pits behind him. But so far, so good. I'm very happy that, you know, I didn't get held up in the pit lane. I was running in P3. We'll just have to wait and see, though, whether I'll still be running in 3rd position after the pit stop phase. But a little bit overshooting down in towards turn 1 behind Adrian Sittil at the moment. Sittil actually doing a really good job running in P9 in this race, ahead of Nico Hülkenberg and ahead of a lot of other drivers that are right behind me at the moment. So I'm not too sure whether it's just Sittil has been defending like hell against those guys, but he's doing a pretty good job to himself. Okay, I'm on the back of Adrian Sittil at the moment, hoping that this driver just doesn't hold me up too much, which unfortunately he has through there. Sittil, get out of the way, mate. Get out of the way, you're holding me up. You could lose me 3rd place here, mate. Up the inside of Adrian Sittil, down in towards the entrance of the chicane. Job done on Adrian Sittil through there. And hopefully that hasn't cost me too much time to the guys who were directly behind me when we came into the pit stop phase. Whereabouts are we going to come out? Are we going to come out ahead of these guys? I think we will. There's one of them on the right-hand side. Who is it? Sebastian Vettel. He was directly behind me when we went into the pit lane. And there we go. Job done. Getting out ahead of Sebastian Vettel. But the job is not completely done yet, because we've got some other drivers yet to come into the pits. So we're just going to have to wait and see whereabouts I'm going to come out in terms of those guys. Okay, then. The other drivers coming into the pits on this lap. So I should come out in P3 now. Not too sure who it was into the pits. I think it was, Daniel Ricciardo. Sebastian Vettel gets past me. On the right-hand side, I've gone straight into the back of the Red Bull driver. Now around the outside, down towards turn 1. Inside of turn 2. Not quite able to get the job done through there. But Sebastian Vettel, good overtake there from Sebastian Vettel, using the DRS to full advantage and then going for the overtake. So well done to Seb. We're looking to see whether we can come back at him in this next lap. I'm not too sure, though, whether it's going to be possible or not. We are still very much on the back of Sebastian Vettel at the moment. He's going to go defensive, down in towards this hairpin. We're trying a big old dive bomb round the outside. Wow! What on earth happened there? Where did that come from? That was incredible underbraking. I just braked to my usual braking point at the 100-meter board. Sebastian Vettel broke so early going into that corner. And luckily, there was no damage, no contact, and we came out of it on top. We're up into P3 once again. But once again, we're going to have to be aware of Sebastian Vettel using that DRS to his advantage down this pit straight. However, I feel like this time around, he is a little bit too far behind. got our first lap driver to deal with in this 2014 season. Kumi Kobayashi gets out of the way very easily, and that actually is going to give me DRS all the way down in towards turn 1. Unfortunately, it wasn't through a sequence of corners, because if it was, then maybe he could have held up Sebastian Vettel and the guys behind me, and maybe given Fernando Alonso a chance to get past. Although Alonso isn't too far back. He's only in P6 at the moment, so it's not too bad for the two Ferrari drivers. We're in P3, Alonso's in P6. If you can get past one of those Red Bulls, then we could be in a pretty good place indeed. Here we go then. Final lap for the Spanish Grand Prix. We have a 1.3 second lead over Sebastian Vettel at the moment. We're way off the pace, though, of the two Mercedes, with Lewis Hamilton being 10 seconds ahead of us at this stage of the race. But with one lap left to go, not much left to do. Just got to sort of hold position, hold rank, and make sure that we get this car home in P3. Nico Rosberg wins today's Spanish Grand Prix. That's going to help him take the lead of the Drivers' Championship after 5 rounds of this season. But we're going to come across the line for a fantastic 3rd position onto the podium for the first time this season. What a fantastic result. Was not expecting that at all. After the previous races that we've had, we haven't even been able to break into the top 6. Now, we're up into P3. 3rd position onto the podium for today's race. Absolutely unbelievable result for myself. And maybe, just maybe, this is the change in fortune that we need. And this is going to help us to challenge with the guys ahead of us in the championship. Unfortunately, we haven't beaten either of the Mercedes drivers. But we beat Vettel, we beat Ricciardo, we beat Alonso. And now it's only going to be a matter of time before we start to pull in the Mercedes drivers as well. Fingers crossed. This is not just a one-hit wonder, and we can actually progress through the season. This is actually at one of my worst tracks as well, so maybe we're actually now starting to get used to the game, and yeah, starting to brake later and stuff like that, and starting, you know, just to be able to be at pace with the AI drivers. I mean, just look at the fastest lap today. We were not that far off of the leaders. I mean, look, we were only 0.04 of a second slower than Lewis Hamilton, which I believe got the fastest lap of today's race. So I'm really, really happy with that. And we just need to be a little bit more consistent over the rest of the races. But Nico Rosberg wins today's race with Lewis Hamilton 2nd, myself in 3rd, Vettel 4th, Ricciardo 5th, then it's Alonso in 6th. Not a good day for my Ferrari teammate, with Bottas in 7th, Perez 8th, Magnussen 9th, and Jenson Button rounding out the top 10. Any surprises in today's results? Not really, as we've got all the back markers where they should be. Adrian Sittel, a good race there for that Sauber driver, though. Not too bad from him. But let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship after today's race. So Rosberg now leads the way by 7 points over Lewis Hamilton. We are still in 6th place, but we have closed up the gap to Ricciardo, Alonso, and Vettel. Not by enough, though. The gap is still 69 points to the leader, which is the most important one. And we do need to start closing in that gap to Nico Rosberg. Looking at the constructors, before we end today's episode, there is a 117-point gap to Mercedes at the moment. Meaning that, you know, both drivers could probably be top of the... They would be second. Both drivers would be 2nd and 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. That is how good the Mercedes are doing right now. But we need to start to change that and pull them back in. Try our best to try and get the Constructors' Championship this season. But that's it for the Spanish Grand Prix. If you have enjoyed the episode, don't forget to smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so for daily Formula 1 content. And don't forget to share this video with your friends. And I will see you next time at the Monaco Grand Prix, the jewel in the F1 calendar. But until then, it's goodbye from me.